All right, hello once again. In this guide, we are going to talk about single line methods in Simpleator. And to help us with this, we are going to look at a more semi-advanced formula, which is the amortization calculation. If you're in real estate or about to take a big business loan, then you might be familiar with this formula. Now, I want you to take note of the variables that are involved in this formula because we are going to apply those same variables in Simpleator. Now, let's also take note of the values for the variables and also the results of the calculation, so that way we can make sure that our formula is correct. So let's jump right into Simpleator and let's write a note of what we're actually doing, and we are doing the amortization calculation. Now, for time's sake, I'm just going to copy and paste the variables and the values for those variables, and I'm also going to just copy and paste the formula. You can always pause the video if you want to see the details of the formula. I'm going to put a $sign at the beginning of this line just for better formatting of our output. So you can see that our formula is correct if we compare this value of $400.76 with that formula that we found on that website, and it seems to match up. Okay, now for the fun part, we are going to make an SLM, or a single line method, of this formula. Now this is just pretty much straight up JavaScript functions or methods, and so I highly encourage you to read up on that if you want to do more advanced techniques such as SLMs. You can see here that I'm creating a SLM and I'm calling it calculator. You can call it whatever you want, and I'm assigning it a function that takes in 3 arguments, which is basically our 3 variables. And inside this function, we are returning the amortization formula, which I just copied and pasted. And to use our SLM, we just call it and pass in the values or the variables that we want it to calculate. And so here we are just using the variables that we assigned up above. And you can see that the results are the same as our formula. Now let's clean things up a bit because we don't need our formula anymore because our SLM seems to be working just fine. And the neat thing about SLMs is that we can reuse it and pass in different values to see what the results would be if I changed, let's say, the principal. And as expected, a higher loan amount will result in higher payments. Now I know this SLM looks kind of overwhelming, and so why don't we hide it by putting it inside our pre-simp. Now don't be confused here because I removed that SLM, but it still thinks that the calculator exists, but it really doesn't. If you hit the save button, you'll see that it's actually not there. Okay, well, we already have our SLM in the clipboard, so why don't we just paste it into our pre-simp now. Now at this point, you can either refresh the page or click on total and it will refresh. And as you can see, everything still works, and we can reuse that same SLM and pass in different values. All right, well, that's it for this guide, and I know it was a little more advanced, but I hope you enjoyed learning about SLMs.